That day nearly ended my life, and I'll never forget it. After our fight, my wife wanted to chat to me while walking. We left the family and walked outside. We met at my parents' huge Tennessee farm. Note that it was nearly midnight. Lanterns and flashlights were our only light. I thought everything was okay until I heard a gunshot. After hearing it again, I convinced my wife to leave immediately. Unknowingly, my chest and lower belly erupted in severe pain while I was contemplating. "My wife's leg hurts," she said. I discovered my 2 gunshot wounds later. I felt like my world was spinning owing to the huge influence. On that time, I thought, this is it, no more. Once on the floor, my heart was pounding with pain. My entire life flashed before my eyes, displaying every moment, every sentiment, mine and others. My wife was crying over me as I slowly recovered consciousness, and I didn't understand. I shouted because I couldn't figure out why she was unaware of me. An undefined impulse or pull was present. In an instant, my location altered. A calm, loving feeling overcame me, as if the world had stopped spinning. A soothing warmth suddenly surrounded me. That moment persuaded me everything would be fine. None of it harmed or terrified me. I saw individuals I loved and lost in these stunning wildflower meadows beneath the blue sky and brightest hues. Even though it looked like Earth, it was alien. Grandma Delia, who died while I was a teenager, smiled down at me with a tear in her eye. She disagreed. "You're back," shaking her head. "This is not your time, kid. When we were kids," she said, "Hicho, to my siblings and myself." I missed my granny and hearing those unusual nicknames, even if we never understood them. When I met my grandpa, my dad's dad, he was crying even though he never met me. Without words, we only thought, and someone answered. He has expressed great pride in my brothers and me, and told us that he has never abandoned us. He watched his grandsons to make sure we didn't get into trouble like my dad and his siblings did as kids, so we never felt alone playing outside. We were a handful with our messes, so I laughed. I didn't realize an 8-year-old girl looked like my mother and me. She finally asked, "Do you know who I am?" I could say no because it was true. She giggled and reminded me of my sister. I eventually realized my mom had a stillborn girl in 1998, 2 years before I was born. I was confused and astonished. I never imagined having a sister, but she promised to support me after the others crossed over. She asked me to tell my mom she was fine and that she had been watching her. She'd been watching us, and now I knew my childhood friend was her. My mind was calmed by the realization. I didn't want to disrupt the family reunion, but my grandma Delia encouraged that I go because it was time to return to my life's job. She smiled and asked, "Were you and the family pleased with the present I brought?" I had trouble understanding her. Yancey, my oldest son's name, was all she said. In response to my confusion, she said, "He's always keeping you on your toes, isn't he? He is energetic, inquisitive, and driven to study like you were as a child." It made me giggle, but I agreed. His arrival was a miracle and a unifying factor for our family. Despite feeling frail and fatigued in the real world, I informed my granny this area was peaceful. Everyone felt let down, even my family and children. She took my hand, lifted my chin, and repeated it as she had always encouraged me to keep my faith. She said I could do big things for society. They need me, therefore I live and raise great kids. That is one of my goals, though not the only one. She reassured me that Scarlett, my daughter, and everything will be well. When I told her I felt like I had let my children down. How she knew was puzzling. My granny promised me everything would be okay and everyone would be reconciled, and that nothing is secret on the other side. She smiled as she said all her boys are grown men. She told me to praise Cole's strength, my brother Quincy's transformation, and my observations. She believes he will find his purpose, and remind my mom that she is watching over her. After my granny said to return, I felt a tug. "Don't worry, I will be here when it's your time." "We all will," she said, stepping back. I didn't understand what she meant by "we all will," but as I looked closer, I saw my great-uncle Carlo, my father's mother, and all my family members who had died. I also wanted to tell my parents about my younger sister. Blinking caused a sudden, overwhelming feeling like being sucked into another dimension. But as I touched my grandma for the last time, it all appeared to evaporate. The lights and sounds went off, leaving silence. I awoke in the hospital bed next to my wife. Anguish and confusion returned. I had trouble speaking at first. My poor wife begged God to save me and keep me with our family. When I eventually said, "I'm okay," my wife hugged me as if my health mattered. We sobbed in each other's arms while telling stories. No words could express her. Day after day, my life changed bizarrely. I had more real and intense dreams than in real life. I saw moving objects in my peripheral vision and heard whispers in my ear when no one else was there. Does this relate to my past? I know it sounds odd. I wondered whether my near-death experience reawakened something I never knew existed inside me. I exploited this sharp perception. My near-death experience changed me forever. It taught me that life goes beyond the senses. Thus, I am reminded of a magnificent, light-filled, infinitely potential cosmos outside our own. I believe in our interconnectedness, even though it's inexplicable. After that, my spirit will change. I found meaning and changed my view on life and death. Despite its continual development, I am grateful for its gift, a window into the unexplained and a subtle reminder that there is more to life than meets the eye. We've covered today's event. As usual, comment what you think. Take care and may blessings follow until we meet again.